Okay, so finally let's look at number 21 here. So again, we're adding and subtracting fractions. We got to go find that least common denominator. But remember, you have to factor out the denominators in order to find it. So the first denominator here, I can common factor out of 5, which leaves me with n squared plus 7n minus 8. And then what's inside is a simple trinomial. So n and n. It's got to multiply to 8 and subtract to 7. So it's 8 and 1. Bigger number first. Bring down the first sign. Positive 8 times what kind of 1 gives me a negative 8? Well, it's going to be negative. It was just a simple trinomial, so that one's factored all the way. And then check the second one. The second one doesn't have a plus or minus sign in it. So just check. Can you do anything with a 3? No. Can you do anything with n? No. So its denominator is just going to be 3n. You can't break it down anymore. But when you go to find this least common denominator, well, we know it's going to have the first denominator, so it's going to have a 5. It's going to have the n plus 8. And it's going to have the n minus 1. And then check your second denominator. Does it have a 3? No, so it's going to have to. And I'm going to squeeze this in up here at the beginning just because it's by itself. And does it have an n? No, it doesn't. So I'm going to squeeze it in up there at the beginning also because it's by itself. So we have 3 times 5 times n plus 8 times the n minus 1 for our least common denominator. So let me erase those underlines that I put on that 3n because I use that to help us when we're working on our numerators. Alright, so we got two fractions being added. I'm going to have to write on that one a little bit. And so we know our least common denominator is going to be 3 times 5 times n plus 8 times n minus 1. So I'll write that down for both. And then we got to fix our numerators. Well, our first numerator was 5n plus 5. And some of y'all may be thinking that can be simplified, it can be common factored, and it can, but don't worry about doing the numerator because the numerator, remember, we're going to combine those like terms, and then the very last thing we'll do is simplify, or factor. Alright, so I'm going to keep the 5n plus 5. And it was over 5 times n plus 8 times n minus 1. So 5, n plus 8, n minus 1. What did I multiply those by? Multiplied by 3 and an n. So I'm going to multiply the top by 3n. My second numerator was a 7n. And it was over 3n. So what did we multiply the 3n by? The 5, the n plus 8, and the n minus 1. And I didn't leave myself enough room, so I'm just going to squeeze it in up there. Alright, so then we're going to combine our numerators over that common denominator. So I'm going to kind of squeeze that in down here. As far as like these next few here, you can mark them out. I'm not going to make you do them. So we have, just rewriting it, I have 3n times 5n plus 5. It was plus. Now be careful here, I have 5 times 7n. Those don't have a plus sign, so I'm going to move them to the front there, in front of the parentheses. So 5 times 7n times n plus 1, it's n minus 1 times n plus 8. All over that least common denominator, 3 times 5 times n plus 8 times n minus 1. Alright, this is a fun one. So for the first part, we have 3n, and we're going to distribute that. So we got 3n times 5n, which is 15n squared. And we got 3n times plus 5, which is 15n. But then be careful, because here I have a positive 5 times 7n, which is really a positive 35n. And we're going to distribute that. So 35n times n. Ooh. You know what, let's actually back up just a little bit here, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and just multiply these two, because we got, what's going on here is we have 4 things being multiplied. So I'm going to multiply these two together, and I'm going to multiply those two together, and then I'm going to have to do another step and multiply those together. So the 5 times 7n is 35n times, and then I'm going to have to do FOIL right here, but guys, we got that from this right there. Okay, you see we're right under 21 there. I'm circling in the pinkish red color. That's what it came from. So I know that n minus 1 times n plus 8 is going to be n squared plus 7n minus 8. If you're unsure of it, do FOIL. Multiply it out and you'll see that it works. All over my least common denominator. Now I'm going to start putting it together as well, because I can go ahead and combine these single things here. 3 times 5 times n, that's 15n. But remember, we don't want to multiply this in the denominator because we want something to cancel. So I'm still not done with my numerator, so I got to keep going. I can't do anything with the 15n squared. I can't do anything with the 15n. But this 35n is going to have to be distributed. So 35n times n squared is 35n cubed. 35n times 7n is going to be, it's 35 times 7. 245. You probably already had that one. So 245n, and 35n times negative 8 is going to be a negative, let's hit the wrong button on my calculator, 35 times 8, negative 8 is a negative 280. And this should be an n, that the 245 should have been n squared, guys. We had n times n. I missed that. Hope you caught it. All over that least common denominator. Alright, well, we're getting closer. We're still not quite done. What else can we do? We can combine like terms, right? So start with your largest exponent, which is n cubed. So I have a 35n cubed. Then I have 15n squared plus 245n squared. So 245 plus 15 is 260. So I have 260n squared. Then I have 15n, and I wrote over this, so that's a minus 280n. So 15 minus 280 is a negative 265n all over our least common denominator. Alright, so again, we've got to check on this numerator, don't we? So let's see. I'm going to, let's just bring this up here. So we have 35n cubed, I'm just rewriting it, plus 260n squared minus 265n all over 15n times n plus 8 times n minus 1. Alright, so I want you to pause this real quick and see if you can factor out that numerator. Check your numbers and check your variables. So pause your video and you try to do it too. Okay, so come on over here. I'm going to set it up to do my factoring. So my numerator was 35n cubed plus 260n squared minus 265n. And so we're trying to factor this. The first thing is greatest common factor. So I think I can take out a 5n. So when I do this, I get, what is that, 7n squared. Plus 260 divided by 5 is 52. N squared divided by n is n. Minus 265 divided by 5 is 53. N divided by n will cancel. So now we're going to check to see if we can factor out what's inside there. So let's see if that alien will work. So we know we're going to have this 5n. To bring it down. And let's do our alien. So the woman's gone on vacation, kisses the man goodbye. He's gone. I'm sorry, she's gone. So n squared plus 52n minus 53 times 7 is 371. Simple trinomial. So we want to know two numbers that will multiply to 371. That's going to subtract to 52. So let's see, you can't see what I can see on my screen completely. So multiply to 371 and subtract the 52. Alright, so let's see what we can find. So try to find those numbers. Okay, so I went through and I found what multiplied to give me 371, and it was only 1 times 371 and 7 times 53. And none of those subtract the 52, which means I can't factor that trinomial. But that means that this numerator factored out is this right here that I circled in purple, up there where I started doing my alien at. So when I come back over here, I'm going to rewrite that in my numerator. So I had that 5n, and it was times 7n squared plus 52n, 52n minus 53, all over the least common denominator there. And since I can't do anything else to my numerator, I can't do anything to the denominator, we have to see is there anything we can do to them together. And so I look and I have these numbers and variables out in front that don't have a plus or minus sign, so I need to check them. So we have the 5 over 15, that will reduce. Check it in your calculator if you need to, and you'll get 1/3. So we don't necessarily have to put a 1 on top, but we do have to put the 3 on bottom. And then we have n over n, well that just cancels out completely. So I still have the 7n squared plus 52n minus 53 on top, and then I still have that n plus 8 and the n minus 1 on bottom. And so there is my answer simplified. Alright, so I'm not going to make you do 25, 26. If you need to write that down, pause the video because I'm about to move it. So you don't have to do 25, 26. Or 23, 24, 25, 26, excuse me. I marked out 28, but I do want you to try 27. It's the same idea. I just want you to give it a try. I'll probably count it as a bonus. All right, and so that should remind you of what we did last week and prepare you. I know some of y'all probably may not get to watch this video until Wednesday, but go ahead and try to get this finished up. And let me know how it's going. I only got an email from one of y'all tonight, so I expect a few more if you're having trouble. Otherwise, I'm going to believe you got it or you didn't watch the video. And I'll be able to tell when I look at the It's Learning to see if you watched it or not. All right, good luck.